right, we are back at it once again for another exciting episode of Pony Express Radio. I am, of course, Mr. Red Hawk. I hope everybody had a fantastic 4th of July. I hope everyone enjoyed the big 250 for the United States. I hope everybody enjoyed the great outdoors. I hope everybody lit off some fireworks, kept all their fingers and toes. I hope everybody had a nice hamburger, hot dog with some mustard and onions on it. I hope everybody drank a nice cold beer and got to listen to some patriotic music and, enjoyed what it is to be an American. It's important stuff these days. So, but we are back to discuss the news of the week, of the day. All right. Mr. Pete Q is taking off this week with a much needed break and well-deserved, I might add. But we got two excellent gentlemen from the OGC chapters from around the country here to fill in for him tonight. Always a pleasure to speak to our guys all throughout this great organization of ours. Well, why don't we go and introduce the other members of the panel here tonight? We got Mr. Foob. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent. USA, USA, USA. I hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July. I know I did here in the great state of Texas. And that is where, of course, I am, that's where I'm from. I'm with the Blackland Prairie Riders. I'm their event planning committee chair. And that's really my only claim to fame. So.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that shortly in a moment here as to why being an event coordinator is so important, especially for what's coming up here in the future. But we've also got David joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me, and a belated Happy Independence Day to everyone. It was beautiful down here in southern Louisiana, and I am the secretary of Beauregard's Bayou Crew, and really, really grateful to be here.
We were talking about this a little bit before we went on the show, but what is the significance of the PFPs here we got going on? I mean, when I first saw yours, Foob, I was like, is this a hadrosaur mixed with a koi fish with a naked lady riding it? I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
And more or less, and you can thank Owen Broadcast at Owen Broadcast on Twitter for turning me on to this guy. It's a painting by the painter Max Frey, hails from some European country, I don't remember which. But he, as I told you before we got on, spent most of his time painting, very boring postcard stamps, pictures of buildings, that sort of thing. But I guess in his free time or whatever, or maybe he had some, freaky patron. He spent his time painting odd sea creatures with naked ladies riding them, like this one. I've always found it fascinating.
Yeah, very interesting to say the least. And then, David, your PFP looks like the Black Hills, somewhere out west, or maybe Yosemite or something like that. Do you happen to know exactly where that photo was taken?
I know exactly. I took it. It was my last backpacking trip in Central Cascades. The area is called Norse Peak Wilderness. It's probably about 40 miles from Mount Rainier. And so it was a 2-nighter, 3-day. Beautiful country, a lot of bear, mountain lions around me. It was really fun. It was taken right before COVID hit.
Oh wow!
Dang. Okay. Yeah, I've seen that picture so many times when we've been in meetings and chats together. I'd never realized it was a photo. I've always thought it was a painting. I guess I've never looked at it closely, but it's a very good photo.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I mean, it's time for everyone to reflect and take. Just sit back in the awe and the majesty from sea to shining sea of the beauty that is the United States. The Pacific Northwest is a part of the country that I've been to Idaho once, but I've never stepped into Oregon, never been to Washington. The Pacific Northwest is part of the country I'm not well versed in at all. I really need to get up there.
The Pacific, or the Cascades, North, Central, and Southern Cascades are just incredible, and they have the the Pacific Crest Trail, which is just amazing. The waterfalls, all these pictures you see, it's really real, and it's really awe-inspiring.
Oh yes. Everybody must take advantage of the great wilderness that we have here in the United States. Take advantage of the national parks. Take advantage of all of the wide open spaces. It is intrinsic to us as Americans to have a love of the outdoors and the frontier. We are a conservation people for sure. But gentlemen, you guys have something to announce to everybody. Who wants to take the reins on this one? Wait, actually, you know what? Before we get into that, we got to keep the lights on over here in OGC Central. We got to get through some shillings here, and then we will hand it over to you guys. You can talk to us about what's going on in the South coming up here in a couple of short weeks. As always, over here at the OGC, you guys need to be in top shape. We are top men here at this organization, and part of being a top man is to be in good physical shape. I was just talking to one of our chapter presidents just the other day, and about how to induct new members into their chapter, they must in fact climb a mountain with various other members. Not everybody can handle such a feat, so you must be in peak physical condition, and you too can be in peak physical condition by heading over to Axios Remote Fitness and Coaching. Link is in the description. White Boy Summer is in full swing right now, but inevitably White Boy Winter is going to return, and you guys need to be in shape to sit through those cold winter nights. All right, so head on over to Axios Remote Fitness and Coaching. While you guys are at it, you need your caffeine fix from Fox and Sons Coffee, good friend of the show. For all of you coffee drinkers out there, I of course am not a caffeine drinker, but I've heard nothing but excellent reviews from all of our guys who do indeed drink caffeine. So head on over there. One product I can endorse myself, though, is Alp nicotine pouches, because we here at OGC are fans of big tobacco. All right, so head on over to Alp nicotine pouches. You know, I mean, like, I've tried all the other pouches, and really, like, I just feel the actual shape and the texture of the pouch of Alp actually is just the best. It sits very comfortably in the lip of your mouth. I actually really do enjoy it as a product. It has nothing to do with the fact that we like the man who runs the company and the great stuff he's covering on his show. Moving on, of course, you guys also need, in addition to being physically fit, you guys got to work on your dress. You guys got to be, you know, really sharp dressed men, like ZZ Top always said, right? And the best way you could do that is to head on over to MS Vendrillo Suits. Link in the description. You can immediately tell everybody, anyone at any of the various OGC conferences who's wearing a Vendrillo suit. You can immediately pick it out. They really are top of the line, top quality. I spent 2 days at the national conference this year getting fit for my own MS Vendrillo suit, and you guys too can be looking quite dapper by getting yourself a nice suit. So head on over there. And then finally, our good friend Mr. George Bagby of American Spirits fame and elsewhere is working tirelessly to bring back various books about American history back into print. And he's doing that through his publishing company, Tall Man Books. So please head on over to Tall Man Books and get yourself some copies of some vintage American history from the 17th, 18th, 19th century, books that you can find nowhere else. And Mr. Bagby has done his absolute best to bring these books back to us, because we must know about our history as Americans. All right, fellas. So tell everyone in the audience who you guys are and why you're here.
Well, David and I are, we don't have too much in common other than that we're both members of the OGC, except that we're also both on the planning committee for the upcoming South Central Forum, hosted in the great Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas on August 8th. We will be having speakers and dinner and a show, and you're going to have a good time if you come on out. Now, our speakers are Dennis from the Redwood Society, one of our great chapters out in California, Matthew Williams, a.k.a. The Prudentialist, Raging Mandrill, and Mike Shelby. Now, if any of those names sound familiar to you and you've ever wanted to hear them speak, you got to buy your ticket now, which, thanks to our very generous donors, we have lowered the price on those tickets from $300 for members and $250 for members and $300 for non-members. We've now lowered those prices to $225 for ODC members and $250 for non-members. And yes, you can bring a non-member. Bring your wife, bring your friend, come buy a ticket, have some barbecue with us, some famous Texas barbecue, and come see a show from Drive Time Movie Night. They're going to put on a little movie and give us some commentary, and it's going to be a good time.
As a person who was just on Drive Time Movie Night last night with Cap and Michael Paul, I do gotta tell you, that's gonna be the first of its kind, a Drive Time Movie Night in person. Oh man,
I'm looking forward to it so much. I've listened to them a couple of times myself, and it's always a good time. The watch-alongs are great.
And it's going to be with an open bar as well. So
oh yes, most importantly,
That's good.
So, actually, hang on. That's false advertising. I'm sorry to say, it will be a cash bar, not an open bar.
Well,
but either way, as long as you have some cash on you, the world's your oyster.
The point is, there'll be some imbibing,
and the food will be seed oil free. So a little benefit for you there. So please reach out. We have some. Oh shoot, we probably should have brought links to put in the chat or something, or the description. But you can reach out to the Blackland Prairie Riders at proton.me or the BPR Events Committee at proton.me, and we can send you a link to fill out the form to buy a ticket.
Yeah, if you guys are members of the OGC in your various chats, please do get with your regional liaisons and your chapter heads, and we will get you guys ticket links and get all that set up. Now, I mean, these, everyone talks about the national conference, which, is amazing, and we do a great job with it every year, and it's a great time to see the whole team, and it's definitely one of the highlights that everyone's here who can go. But you know what? I'm really excited to see more of these regional conferences take off. We've done a couple of them in the last couple of years, but this year is really the year where they're popping off. I mean, there's pretty much a regional event, regional conference of some way or another going on in basically every part of the country this year. So if you can't make it out to the national one, there are these regional ones popping off. I cannot recommend people go to these enough. It really just is an amazing, white pilling event is probably the most important part with all of these things. It's just showing up, seeing guys in real life who think like you do. And it's just an amazing way to connect, and really just invigorates you for the rest of everyday normie life. So I can't recommend going to these things enough. So
I will second that sentiment. I tell my guys every time I travel somewhere, I try to meet up with a local chapter, because in last year I went to the East Coast Forum. It was a great time. It's part of what inspired me to help put on this our forum here. I cannot understate the value of going across the country and meeting like-minded people, knowing that there are in fact people like you out there, people who love this country and want to rescue it from the clutches of evil.
Right. And along those lines, just to add on to that, this event is being organized by 6 different chapters. So there's 6 different chapters involved with this. And also, the networking while listening to speakers that are, I listen to a lot of different OGC shows, and they talk a lot about theoretical things, but the speakers and the theme of the conference is we can just do things. That's a real key point, is that we can just do things. And all the speakers that we selected with that in mind. And so Mr. Dennis from the Redwood Society, I've already sat in on, I think it's 3 of his seminars. He's been given seminars for OGC chapter members, and the details that he goes into. What's that?
I said, and they're so good.
You're right. This is stuff that he's actively doing right now with the Redwood Society. And I think he's spoken about it I know he's been on your show as well, Red Hawk. But he's going over stuff like co-ops, microloans, member-owned businesses, and then tying that in. Something that's talked about repeatedly is job pipelines. Everybody's, there's a lot of discussion right now about employment and not being able to find jobs. And as OGC and OGC chapters, what we're trying to do, Beauregard's Bayou Crew and all the other chapters, is really trying to keep it with any business that we can, trying to keep it within our chapter. So those are just a few examples of the things that Mr. Dennis is going to be talking about. And then, of course, Mike Shelby, has a very extensive background in, how do I put this, getting prepared. And he's, put out his whole concept of area studies. And so he's going to be going over that in fine detail. So these are all very practical matters that people can learn and then network at the same time with other chapter people, and then take it out into real life.
Yeah, before we started planning for this conference, we had met actually with Jeff Younger, the Buck and Perry riders. He came out to a couple of our meetings at one point, and he just talked about his experience and how he was so tired of people getting together for dinner parties and not doing anything. And that has really influenced our thinking with this conference. Yes, camaraderie, sharing camaraderie, having a drink and a meal together, that's important stuff, but it has to be more than that. It can't just stop there. In the same way, it can't just stop at group chats online.
Very much so. Yeah. This is way more practical and real life things that we can all take back home and put into action.
So we hope to see you there.
Yes.
Indeed. Everyone, make sure you get out to all the various local and regional conferences that are going on throughout the rest of the year. Please remind everybody again where they should reach out if they would like to purchase a ticket.
Blackland Prairie Riders at proton.me or BPR Events Committee at proton.me. We'll send you a link. You'll fill out a little form. Once you fill out your form, we'll send you your link to buy a ticket.
The other thing too that that has come out of a lot of these regional conferences is that it's actually gotten guys in touch with their fellow OGC members throughout the entire country. I remember we threw an event in Florida late last year, and some guys from like Wisconsin, Indiana came down to it, and they just stayed at the guys in Florida's houses after that instead of getting lodging and stuff like that. So it's a good way to show some camaraderie to your fellow brothers this way. I mean, who the hell wants to pay $500 a night for a hotel ticket? Just go stay with one of your guys.
Well,
absolutely.
It's interesting you bring that up. The area, it's not actually in Dallas per se. It's more, I don't want to say rural, but it's in a more safer, hospitable area. And so we do have accommodations, and that's on the link if you want to get accommodations. But there are other people there.
Yes.
But my chapter, they're actually they're doubling up, and some cases even tripling up.
Cramming as many people into a hotel room as possible.
I know. It's so cool. So.
Alrighty. Well, if anyone is interested in going to the conference, please do reach out to these guys, and we'll do some more shilling before we end the stream this evening. But, gentlemen, as much as I would love to talk about building locally and establishing bonds of fraternity and brotherhood and taking back this great country of ours, we do have to talk about some slop stories of the week. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a show, right? So if people wanted to hear nothing but good news, they should tune into Chapter House and American Spirits. But damn it, people are here for Pony Express Radio, and they're here, and the slop must flow. All right, so why don't we just jump right into this one? All right, we're going for it, guys. We're jumping in. We're diving for it. We're going right for the White House press secretary because, man, oh man, was I pissed about this over the weekend. Okay, so everybody knows this. It just seems like there's a new blonde bimbo that gets like cycled out of this like press secretary position ever since the first Trump administration.
I was just thinking Trump really knows how to pick them.
Yeah.
He has a taste.
Yeah, I forget the name of. Was it Conway? Conway might have been the woman that was something like that. I forget.
Kelly Conway.
Yes, that's right. That's her name. And then that slump buster Sanders was in there for a while. Who became governor of Arkansas? Yeah.
Who's now governor of Arkansas?
Oh, she's still governor. Yeah. Wow. So she was in there for a while, and now we got this chick. So why are we talking about her? Well, of course, it was 250, big celebration of a major founding point of the United States. It's a big event. Everybody's gathered around with their families. It's a time for reflection, time for family, friends, everything like that. And Fox News decides to have the White House press secretary come on because they got this big setup at the White House lawn where they're celebrating America 250, watching all the explosions from the fireworks, the rodeo stuff that's going on with all this. But let's just see what Carolyn Levitt and Jesse Waters have to say on the young generations, Generation Z in America. Let's hear what they have to say.
running for the modern day Democrat Party. This is not your granddaddy's Democrat Party. This is not the Democrat Party of JFK. This is a full-blown communist revolution that is taking over Capitol Hill right here in Washington, D.C., just a few steps away from where we are sitting right now. The inmates are running the asylum. These are crazy.
The first thing I want to say about this, of course, is that the big boogeyman in American politics right now for all your Fox News boomers is Zoran Mamdani, okay? Mm-hmm. And he's not the big boogeyman for the reason he should actually be the boogeyman, be it that he's a Ugandan who showed up to America 5 minutes ago as a foreigner and is now running our largest city and it plans to disenfranchise white people from all positions of what was once our greatest city in the entire country, right? So that's the reason you should be concerned about this guy. The fact that New York has had a total demographic replacement to the point now where the city is only 30% white. It is ridiculous the amount of foreigners that have been thrown into positions. You could talk about the ridiculous amounts of corruption at the state, at the federal level, and then you could also even point to the local level of New York with what was that chick, Letitia James or whatever was the. So there's a million ways that you could say this. But, of course, because it's Fox News and because it's boomers, the only attack line we can have on this guy is, well, he's ma-socialism, he's ma-communism. And I'm here to tell you, all the Fox News listeners out there, none of which are probably listening to the show, but this will not work. This attack vector of saying, oh, these guys are communists, these guys are socialists, to all the young people who hear that, who aren't like based right-wingers like us, to all the young people who say, oh, you're a democratic socialist or you're a commie, they're like, ding, 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 I'm going to vote for that guy. Let's go right for him. That sounds amazing. And really what it comes down to, and we're going to get more into this clip in a second here, is that both sides for the youth in America do not like the status quo. Because why would they like the status quo? The status quo fucking sucks. It's shit. Everybody can see it who's under the age of 35, trying to get into the job, trying to get into a nice, good paying job, trying to get into the housing market, trying to get into the stock market, trying to find a relationship, to start a family. Well, all these huge factors that are causing the youth of our country to go radical in one political direction or another. And the Fox News boomers are, just entirely dead set on using the same old talking points that, I'll let her talk a little bit more. But gentlemen, any opening comments about the rise of Zoran Mamdani and the Democratic Socialists of America, and anything like that?
No, you kind of covered it. I mean, the one thing I'll say is that, in my church's group chat today, I saw the guys talking about Mr. Mamdani, and they were, the worst thing about him was that he was a Democrat. And I couldn't help but think that, if he could have put an R next to his name instead of a D on the ballot and been exactly the same. And these people, they wouldn't even know who he was. They've only heard of him because he's a Democrat. He could have been doing the exact same stuff, under a completely different party. But they don't understand. They don't understand what he being there really means. They don't understand. They just see, oh, Democrat, that means bad, which is unfortunate. But they're normies, so that's to be expected as well.
My take on him, and I've heard a lot of discussion about him, is that he is similar to Donald Trump back in 2015, 2016, in that he's very slick, he's very articulate. He's young and he knows the right thing to say to the younger crowd. And so his ability to pander to the younger crowd with the ideas of, I don't want to say free stuff, but making things more accessible. Unfortunately, I think what you're referring to, Red Hawk, is that the boomers are just totally deaf and blind to what's going on right now with the economy, with society. And they're I guess, pretending that everything looks great and everything's wonderful. And this guy is catching in on that. And it's not just him. There's other races and other candidates that are doing the same thing. So, while you can call him a DSA and all this kind of stuff, I think their political machine and their propaganda machine is just so more. It's much more finely tuned and in tune with what's going on with the people that are 45 and under or 35 and under, and they're saying the right thing.
Yeah, the thing that this really comes down to is that the Democratic Socialists of America coalition, right? They are actually talking about real issues that real people care about.
Exactly.
And even though their solutions are all batshit insane and are all wrong and are going to cause an absurd amount of damage to this country and to the heritage Americans that we are supposed to be representing, okay, they are actually talking about legitimate things. This was the easiest thing in the world that the Trump administration could have just flanked everybody to the right on, got ahead of all this stuff. But it's just an amazing blunder that they're just all caught. It's crazy to see that since the death of Charlie Kirk, they are all just completely in the bubble of the donor class. It's nuts. And we'll see it more in a second here when this 33, 32, I don't even know how old this bitch is, but the stuff that she, the phrases that are going to come out of her mouth are like, we have these Twitter spaces with Mr. D, multiple times a week, and there's bingo cards in the chat because we've been doing these spaces for 4 or 5 years now, basically, and we kind of we'll cycle through some similar topics and people play a game of it. This woman just has like the bingo card of all boomerisms. All right, let's listen in on what she has to say here in a second.
People who are advocating against what I call the 3 Ps: prison, police, and private property. They don't want any of those things, and those are the ideals that founded this great country 250 years ago. But as President Trump says, communism is easy to sell. You just promise people free stuff. Until a few years, you're living in squalor with no free home, no free food. You're just sitting there with a whole bunch of communists looking around and saying, what the heck happened to our failed state?
And the president said he'd be a great communist. He'd give everything away for free.
It's an easy sale to make.
But he said communism, this new strain, it's the biggest threat the country in 250 years has ever faced.
So it's a new strain of communism, is it? Yeah. Oh, look, it's double secret mega extra communism. God, what a fucking joke, man.
Yeah.
I think she was 23 when she did the hookup.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too in the context of this woman.
Really on the guy's part, it's just wow.
Well, we'll get to that more in a second because it's a really easy thing to criticize her for in a moment here. But I want to get to this point where she gets all these boomer buzzwords coming out. Let's listen in.
I mean, that's a powerful statement.
And he's 100% right about that, because if you look at these candidates, they are becoming mainstream in the modern day Democrat Party. You mentioned Chuck Schumer is worried about his leadership position. He should be, because if he was in a primary in New York State against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is a socialist and probably commie curious, as you pointed out, he would get wiped out. And he's the leader of the Democrat Party. Hakeem Jeffries is afraid of these candidates running because they are going to take over the Democrat Party. So the way that we stop this communist revolution in its tracks is for great Americans across the country who love America, who are celebrating her in 250 years of our great nation this week, to vote against this communist revolution, vote against the Democrats. There's only one choice. It's President Trump, it's the Republican Party, and it's common sense. That's what this is about, communism versus common sense.
That's a good way to frame it. If it doesn't go that way, if these commies get in, they're going to be a powerful little caucus. They're going to here to blow things up. They're not here to negotiate Pentagon funding. They want zero Pentagon funding. They're in here to destroy the country. How would the president negotiate with people like that?
I'm not sure you can, and I think that's why the president is being so bold in warning the American public against this communist takeover of the Democrats. And as Ronald Reagan perfectly stated, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. If these communists are given a chance
here
at power here in Washington, D.C., if they retake the majority in Washington away from the Republicans, we will be heading down a communist takeover. Ask the people of Cuba how that worked out for them. They are begging to come here right now.
Some of these kids, and I call them kids because they're in their 20s.
Yeah.
And
they are here. What are you talking about? They're already here. They've been here for 50 years.
When you don't have a real job.
Right.
Do you think that's getting traction? Complaining?
Unfortunately, I do, because this generation, my generation, I hate to say it, Gen Z and those younger than me have been raised with just
Here we
silver
go.
spoons in their mouth, just getting everything handed to them. That's not the values this country was built on. It was built on meritocracy and hard work, pulling up your sleeves, pulling yourself up from your bootstraps, and achieving the American dream. And we need to protect it with all we got.
Is it laziness?
A little bit.
Pause.
Oh.
How many times do you think this lovely lady has swung a hammer in her life? Not as part of a job, but just in general. How many times do you think she's put on a steel toe boot? Maybe how many days a week do you think she's worked outside of an office?
Right, worked in a restaurant, worked some menial labor job. Ugh.
So here's the other thing too, and honestly, we don't want to just criticize her for this because there's plenty of things to throw at her, but shame on Jesse Waters with this too, because there's a little bit of a sneak that he threw in there where he says like, well, these kids are complaining that everything's expensive when you don't have a real job. It's like, dude, I don't know, working a blue collar job like a plumber or an electrician or an HVAC guy, is that a real job? Is working for a tech company a real job? Is working in a finance or for accounting, is that a real job? Well, newsflash, motherfucker, those people are suffering too. Those people are having a hard time of it too in this economy. So it's like, oh, well, I guess that these people are just lazy people who are working their 40, 50-hour a week jobs in this economy, who can't get into the housing market, who can't find a relationship because things like women in the workforce have priced a lot of men out of the dating market and things like this. I guess it's not a real job. The stereotype that Fox News wants to push on the entire Gen Z and millennial groups who are trying to invade and trying to take over the Republican Party at all levels. You see this in every single institution, whether it's Turning Point USA, whether it's Young Republicans, whether it's the GOP itself, whether it's the people on Capitol Hill. All of these organizations are having the same fight right now, and that's between the youth and the old in all these organizations. And the young are not being represented by these people. They're not. And Fox News is there as it's like the average viewer of Fox News is like 64 or something like this. Like the whole network is only watched by boomers, and it exists to break down the lines between the generations, where the old are supposed to help the young, to pass on wisdom to them, not to cast them off as either really upset radical young men who are being propagandized by evil podcasters online to hate Jews or something like that, which is basically all Fox fucking talks about at this point anyway. And it's to call everybody lazy, it's to call everybody entitled, it's to call everybody spoon-fed silver spoons. And then here we go, the woman, the words that are coming out of this woman's mouth, Carolyn Levitt, she married a man who is 30 years her senior. Okay, it's like, listen here, man, far be it from me to go out of my way to criticize age gaps and relationships and stuff like that. I mean, Aristotle had this right when he was talking about this thousands of years ago, right? So women like older men. It's been there since the beginning of time. Okay, but listen here, okay, maybe just from like a tactical standpoint, maybe not insert your foot in your mouth at the celebration of 250 saying that the young people of America are born with silver spoons, when you, like 30 years at like 30 years old, get to be taken care of by some rich hedge fund guy. So read the fucking room, Mitch.
It was so blatantly hypocritical. I mean, that when those words came out of her mouth, and you're just looking at her, and her history, it was just jaw dropping. And then Jesse Waters letting that whole lazy thing. Are they just lazy? It was an incredible, painful to watch. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not surprising. This is what the fourth or fifth time we've had a major holiday, and somebody from the admin starts to denigrate the blood and soil of this great nation. I mean, it's more surprising if it doesn't happen at this point.
Yeah, I mean, really, what this comes down to is that the acceptable punchy bag, the acceptable targets, okay, We talked about this as it relates to the Israel conflict, when people are talking about Palestine or third worldism or what have you, like the acceptable target and such. We bring this up about things like after 9/11, that the acceptable target from all the propaganda outlets from the regime was, Islam and what have you. And even while they were doing all this acceptable target stuff, they were shipping these people into the millions. And now we got Dearborn, Michigan, right? The acceptable target for both sides of the political spectrum, left and right, is young white men. And that's what it comes down to. It is okay if you are a Republican to criticize young white men. It is not okay to criticize any other group. And it's the same thing with the Democrats. Okay. So if you guys on this issue are completely, if you guys are taking the exact same position as the Democrats on this issue, then why should people vote for you? Why should people be interested in what you guys have to say? Again, I'm pointing back to, if you guys want to cut off Mamdani and all these other clowns at the pass, as you should, because they're going to do awful things to this country, okay, the way you do it is to actually talk about the issues, not to ignore, try and say ignore them and say they aren't there, or cast everybody on your side of things who is complaining about the rightful economic problems in this country as, oh, you guys are complainers, you guys are victim mentality, you guys are the woke right, or whatever.
In other words, denigrating them and then dismissing their complaints, either minimalizing or dismissing the complaints of the young white men and women to a certain extent, that in society right now that are not getting the freebies that the other people are.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they do want to replace the Mamdanis, but it ends up being with Vivek Ramaswamy rather than you or me.
Yeah. How about just Dan Smith?
That'd be nice. So nice.
Yeah. There will just never ever be a moment, because the Fox News boomer base, number one, it's an agenda, intentional, to keep the young men out of the positions of power in the Republican Party because they're too radical, specifically on a couple of issues that the donor class of Fox News doesn't want these people taking over the parties with, namely Israel and Israel support. But you will never hear an acknowledgement of the three biggest issues that are facing young people in the economy, okay? Because really, if you were to actually take stock of these things, a couple of major load-bearing myths of the conservative movement would have to fall away. Number one, the legacy of Ronald Reagan. That is Reagan just needs to be thrown completely out the fucking window at this point, especially when it relates to things like amnesty for illegals and immigration stuff, okay? What it really comes down to is the youth in this country have lived since 2008. More money has been printed than was previously in circulation since the Industrial Revolution. Literally more money in the last, since 2008, almost 20 years since 2008. More money has been created out of thin air since 2008 than the previous hundreds of years of the Industrial Revolution. Okay. That is crazy when you break that down to people like that. Okay. I know we don't talk about economics too much on this show, but seriously, like, printing money literally out of thin air with quantitative easing and bailing out all these banks. And then we did another bailout under COVID, and we're probably going to do another bailout when this AI bubble pops as well.
Okay. Wasn't the COVID printing even more massive than from 2008 to 2020?
Yep. It was even bigger. Yeah. It was even bigger.
Yeah. It was like the biggest, what do they call it? Money influx in all history in that short period. It was like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. So you have the massive debasing of the currency and inflation of the money supply. Okay. In addition to that, you have absurd levels of outsourcing of jobs, again, which has been going on since the 60s, 70s, 80s, even earlier. Okay. And then the third thing is, because that we didn't want a dip in corporate profits, okay, we want to artificially inflate these numbers. So instead of increasing wages for the few jobs that we kept in this country that we didn't outsource, we decided to import millions upon millions of people from the third world to work for pennies on the dollar. Okay. And all three of those you could easily lay right at the hands of establishment conservatives. Okay. And that is the reason why so many of the young people today are struggling in this country as it relates to home ownership, stock ownership, forming families, finding good paying jobs. most people, there was new statistics that came out today that 50% of people under 50 are living at home with a parent. Like the economy is in a really, really bad state right now, especially for young people. If you're a boomer who bought your house in 1972 for $30,000 and you watched it inflate into a $3 million asset, oh yeah, of course it's great for you. The economy could never be better. But now we're talking about like in states like, oh, we're going to get rid of property taxes. Oh, great. So the last thing that pushes boomers out of their house is property taxes. And so now they're just going to hang on to it literally for forever.
Yeah.
Main focus on the conservatives. They need to go. They all need to go. Every single one of them.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Fahrenheit. Truer words never been spoken. No. So the administration once again putting their foot in their mouths on this issue, and we talked about it again and again, time and time again on the show. Ever since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who really was like the voice of the youth in the presidential office, there's nobody been there to replace him, and it's no wonder that the demographic that's had the hardest swing against Trump since the election in 2024 has been young men. Young men they had a 45-point swing for Trump. They were the widest shift since 2020 to 2024 in support for Donald Trump. And now they're also the group that is falling out support with him the most compared to everybody. And why? Because we are still being tossed out. We are still being the punching bag for everybody. We are getting no assistance, no support from the administration when they could have locked up these young men as a voting bloc for them for decades at this point. The Republicans do not want to embrace themselves as the white male party. They don't. They are completely locked in with this expectation set for them by our enemies that, oh, we have to have women. We got to have women on the Supreme Court. We got to have all these black conservatives. We got to have all these other people in here. We got to have Winsome Sears, be the black governor of Virginia. It's like, just give me Dan Smith, man, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned that earlier, and I recall when Trump first came back into office in 2025, the first 2 or 3 months, and I know we're going to talk about this topic a little bit later, but I mean, he was on fire, and it seemed like he was addressing everything, and I just keep asking myself, what happened that caused him to pivot away from that and that focus on everything you just outlined? Because the immigration and the outsourcing of jobs, those are things that can be fixed, and they can be fixed relatively easy by just making it hard for these illegals to be here. And I know y'all have talked about it ad nauseum, but it seems like there's just been this shift, and it's inexplicable, I guess. And
it is still completely insane that the United States government has finally found something it doesn't want to tax, and that being remittances.
Yes, I heard you say that.
Insane, just insane. They will tax you on everything else, everything else except remittances.
Why? And I mean, just Mexico alone, I think is what, 90 billion or 60 billion a year or something.
India's a huge one too. But
right.
Both of them.
You did all of the remittances and taxed it heavily, like 20%. Wow. But why? Why won't they?
It's all about kicking the can down the road as it relates to the economy, which is something the boomers have been doing their entire fucking lives. Okay. One of the other things I want to talk about here as well is there's constantly this argument that goes on between the youth and the boomers as it relates to the problems that we have with the economy now. And the argument will always go something to the extent of, well, you guys have all of your luxury goods now. Look, you have avocado toast, and you have giant TV screens, and you've got internet access everywhere, and you have Netflix, and all this stuff costs like absurdly cheap compared to what it would have, in the 70s, 80s, and what have you. And guess what? That is true. That is true in the sense that like all these luxury goods have become more accessible to people like us. Okay, that's true. However, really given the choice, okay, if people were asked, at the start, it's like, okay, you guys can have Netflix or you can have a house. Most people would choose the house, okay? When it really comes down to it. And you could get the house. A guy who, I was just talking about this the other night, okay? A factory worker in Detroit in the 70s and the 80s could support a family, multiple kids, a wife stays at home, had a house in a decent neighborhood, and then could also afford to buy a log cabin up in northern Michigan to go and vacation there during the summertime, go up on the lake with his family, go shoot some deer in the fall time or what have you. One person could do that working a blue-collar job in the factory in the 70s and the 80s, okay? That is literally impossible now. That is unheard of, for anybody in the age cohorts that these people are talking about on Fox News right now.
Yeah,
okay,
I am literally the son of one of those Detroiters, and I might be able to afford a home at some point. I'm fortunate enough.
Yeah,
but that's it.
Yeah, it's insane. So it's like, yes, we do have luxury goods here, okay, but the luxury goods are so accessible to everybody because we have outsourced all of these jobs, and because we don't want to pay more for these products here in the States. Therefore, we're not paying people wages here in the States. Therefore, we're paying various immigrants who come here in the States. We all know these. And another thing I want to point out to people as well is the huge, Sean Weiland in the chat calls it financial nihilism, and that's a very good word for it. But the other thing is that there's a lot of financial uncertainty into the future for young people in the sense of, like, does anybody here on this panel or anybody in this chat expect to get Social Security?
Of course not.
Yeah, but we're all paying for it.
Yeah,
but we're all paying for it, right? So it's little bitty things like this where it's like
David's. You know what? David's old enough. He might be able to get a couple bucks from it. Actually, not to throw you under the bus, David, but you might be able to get it.
I was just sitting there thinking, it's like it's such a minuscule amount compared to what's been paid in. That's the true ripoff of Social Security. It's the I don't know why, but it's basically you put all this money into it and you get nothing back. So it's just a scam. It's a con.
Well, it's another thing too with other things that a lot of people are forced to have with things like car insurance and health insurance. Okay. The costs of these things has skyrocketed over the last 15 years. And it's basically like you kind of have to have these things because if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, you don't want to be like completely out like hundreds of thousands of dollars for basic care, right? But you're still paying thousands of dollars every month for health insurance that you just don't need. I mean, like in my situation, like I'm a healthy guy. Like I stay in good shape. I don't take like, ridiculous unnecessary risks like, driving a motorcycle or something to work every day, right? Like in normal times, I wouldn't need health insurance, but you just have to have it. I know a guy, a friend of mine, okay, did not have health insurance. He was a small business owner for himself, had no health insurance of any kind, was just working for himself, got a diagnosis for ALS, okay, when he was not having health insurance, and now his life is completely fucked. It's over. Because no insurance company is going to cover him because he didn't have insurance at the time when he found this diagnosis. It's like in any other circumstance, you wouldn't have to be paying this exuberant amount every single month just to like literally stay alive. I probably spent like 30 grand on health insurance over the last like 5 to 10 years, and I haven't even been to the doctor in several years. Like, what reason
I
would
haven't
I have
gone
to go?
since the start of COVID. But
yeah, exactly.
I dutifully pay. It comes right out of my paycheck. Or there was a period when I was paying myself. It's a little ridiculous.
That's a complicated one. If you have a family, you have kids and stuff like that, that changes the factor. If you're a single guy or lady and you don't have anyone else you're responsible for, there are alternatives out there. I've been hearing about them. It actually kind of ties in with what Dennis was talking about on one of his seminars, co-ops, medical co-ops. You can they're out there where you pay a nominal fee and per month, and you get to go in and see a doctor. They're not everywhere, but they're becoming more and more popular because basically, Red Hawk, what you're describing, your insurance policy, health insurance policy, is probably what used to be called a catastrophic health insurance policy.
Yeah, exactly.
your deductible is over, I think it used to be $2,000 or $3,000. That was called a catastrophic health care policy. And now the deductible is like $7,000 or $8,000, and it's the norm.
Yeah, mine's 10. Mine's 10. Yeah.
$10,000 you have to pay in before you see a nickel back. And so, when I was younger, I did not have health insurance. I didn't have it, and I didn't need it, and things just unfolded, and I think I broke an ankle once, and I got a big medical bill. But back then, the prices for medical care were not inflated to this outrageous thing they do now. So it was a couple of grand to go to the ER. But I eventually paid it off. So I was around when I work in the healthcare field, and I saw the implementation of Obamacare, and that was when the big I think it was 2012, 2013 is when the inflation hit on that one.
Yeah. But also, speaking of Obamacare, thank you again, John Roberts, the vote on the Supreme Court to keep that through. So that guy's been fucking us in the ass for over a decade now. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. God, probably longer.
Each.
Yeah. So, well, and that's what's just so frustrating about all this, because we just had a very reasonable discussion for the last 20 minutes or so about the issues that the youth are having with the economy. And to just bring this up with anybody in this age cohort, it's like 9 out of 10 times just immediately laughed out of the room. And it's just so frustrating because I think one of the other things I want to talk about on this economics thing is that in times in the past, when we actually had a more homogenous country as related to demographics, people had a sense of pride in being an American. There was that general American stick-to-itiveness and honor and just how to conduct yourself within various business practices and what have you. It's like, listen here, man. I was talking about this the other night. Jay Burden had a conversation with a guy not too long ago. I wish I could remember the name. The guy's like in his 50s or what have you, an older Gen X guy. And they were talking again about the issues that the youth are facing with employment. And it really stuck out to me. There were this Gen X guy. I was like, wow, like this guy actually gets it, where he said to himself, it's like, listen, like corporate America was shit when I was in it. It was terrible. It was awful. They overworked us. They underpaid us, and we were underappreciated. And I actually have a lot of praise to go towards young people who are trying to find alternatives and try and get out of this broken system. I wish I could have done it. And there's just no wisdom like that to be had or to be found from most of the people who are the donor class of the Republican Party. It's all pull yourself up by your bootstraps, go into the office and shake the guy's hand and he'll give you a good job. It's like, dude, like I think everybody in this chat has gone through the absolute demoralizing attempt to try and curate your resume in the best way possible so the HR ladies and the AI can get around it so that you can not just be in a degree mill, sending out hundreds, thousands of applications and never getting a response back to them.
Did you hear about the guy that changed his last name to Singh? S-I-N-G?
Oh no.
Yeah. It was on YouTube. He did it was an interview, I think. Anyway, he did all these applications, no responses. He changed his last name. He got I think it was 3 or 4 responses in less than 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
Of course.
Yeah. No, I mean, you show up at a place to hand them your resume. Now they might call security on you.
Yeah, I work at a very nice job that is very good at security. I'm very fortunate, but you could not walk into my office to hand anybody a resume because you could not walk into my office.
Right.
They would put you in jail if you tried to go into my office.
It's just so frustrating because there is a total disconnect of what the current work environment is right now, what the current state of the relations between men and women are like right now, what the actual inflation numbers and the economy, the cost of groceries, the cost of housing, the cost of apartments, cost of rent, everything. But the other thing too is that there's just no curiosity whatsoever about what is it like for you guys and how can we help kind of deal. It's one of my biggest critiques of boomers is this dick measuring contest that they're constantly in, even with their own kids, man. It's like, guys, do you not want to have your kids grow up in a country that is better off than you found it? like I hear all this rhetoric, but there really just is nobody who's handing out an arm to pull these kids up, and it's no wonder they're all pissed off. Yeah. This is actually gonna tie in very well to our next story on here. So in addition to the discussions and the celebrations of America 250, another thing that was going around the internet this weekend was Patriot Front had a great march in Washington, D.C. Their leader, Thomas Rousseau, gave an excellent speech, actually, to be honest. I hadn't really heard Thomas Rousseau speak at all previously. Like, I knew he went on like a couple podcasts, and it wasn't really my thing, I don't really know if these like marching in the fields is like very productive or what have you. It's not necessarily my thing, but I also kind of acknowledge that, we this thing of ours like probably does need something like that, even though it's not my thing. I'm all for diversity of tactics here, and if they're going to do their thing, and if they're going to do it well, then that's fine. Let them go and do it. And I listened to his speech that he gave right at the foot of the Washington Monument, and it was really good. I was like, wow,
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. So in the wake of this speech being sent all over Twitter, X, the alleged free speech website, has banned all of the Patriot Front accounts. Has banned all the accounts that were tweeting out the speech. Here's a tweet from our good friend of the show, Kenzie Puff here. This person is an enemy, by the way. And if people will remember this character, Data Republican, one of the ones who was really popular during the DOGE pop off and leading up to the 2024 election or what have you. So what is this deaf woman, an icon of conservatism, right? And she's like the data. She's the analytics person. She's going to find where the fraud is taking place and send it to the people in DOGE and get it to go viral. So what does she say? She says, I vow to personally campaign to get rid of any Republican staffer and expose NGOs involved in Patriot Front. She was calling for doxing. She was calling for these people's lives to be ruined for having a walk in a park with American flags. It's like, dude, listen here. You can have some criticism of Patriot Front. You might even be a little bit skeptical. I know a lot of people in previous years have been very skeptical of Patriot Front as being feds. And I'll tell you this. I mean, if they're feds, like no Fed is speaking like Thomas Rousseau was in that speech, man. Like, I'll tell you that much right now. Okay.
He did it with no script either.
Yeah. No.
That whole speech.
None.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely not. So it's like, I'm like, if these guys, if these guys are feds, I'm just saying it seems very, very unlikely to me. This just doesn't pass the smell test for me anymore at this point.
If guys are feds, they're my kind of feds.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the things that I've been in the scene for a long time at this point. Okay, being on the internet in a public-facing way for almost 10 years at this point. And one of the things that you kind of pick up after being around for a long enough time is the people who kind of just stay consistent on the same path, doing the same thing, talking about the same stuff, don't really get trapped by the algorithm, don't get trapped by their audiences, don't like turn into complete lolcows and stuff like this. If they just do their thing, that's generally a good sign that they're people you should be listening to, and you should have some degree of respect. And to be honest, like I see Patriot Front doing the exact same thing they've always been doing. They go on marches, they wear masks, they wear American flags, they're white guys who are fit. And it's like they've literally done nothing else. They've never done any violence. They've never done any chimping out. They've never done, like any calls to action or anything like that, like storming capitals or any stuff like that. It's just been the same thing consistently for years. And for me, I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem like fetish behavior to me. It just doesn't.
And Red Hawk, who told us they were feds? I mean, they've been around for a while. Wasn't it Fox News? Wasn't it all the mainstream media that kept saying they were feds?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've definitely seen an uptick in that since the SPLC story. I mean, look, Data Republican references it right here in the tweets. It's like, promoting views disagree with on the right, SPLC psyops, to make the right look bad. It's like, how is this making us look bad? Like, explain to me what is
focus on the conservatives.
Yeah.
They need to go. They all need to go. Every single one of them.
No, it's like, how is this making us look bad? Yeah. It's like, oh well, it looks like Rosa Parks, the bullying that black woman on the subway, and it's like,
It looks bad because they're not fat slobs.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
It looks bad because they're white men who are organizing. That's why it looks bad.
There you go.
Yeah.
And there's the problem.
Yeah. So
White men organizing.
exactly.
Can't have it.
So
Just can't have it.
So we have people in the administration who call the best and brightest young men of our country, spoiled with silver spoons in their mouths and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Don't you dare look at any of the economic factors that are disenfranchising you from being able to have a stake in the way your country is run or how you can raise a family and start the next generation. Pay no attention to any of things like that. What you guys really need to be paying attention to is these evil white men right here who are organizing and having marches in a park. I brought this up on Twitter, right, in response to this data Republican bitch, going on about this. And it's like, contrast this with Kamala Harris, while running for president in 2024, was actively campaigning for money to bail out people during the BLM riots who were guilty of murder and property destruction. And the Republican Party is like, oh, we're going to dox you for walking in a park. What a fucking joke, man. What an absolute joke.
Yeah. I mean, these were the. It's so obvious that it's almost corny to say, but these are the same people that have been whining about cancel culture for who knows how long. But the minute they get the minute somebody's to the right of them, a little too far on some issues, they're happy to turn around and return the favor.
It reminds me of that Capano lady on Fox. Wanting to dox back. I can't remember what he did. Oh, he refused to take a job because his boss was a Jew.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that
was
guy.
about
yeah, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, same thing. That whole cancel mentality of your own. There's a term. It's called eating your own, and it reminds me of that. And the genesis of why a species would want to eat their own, or society would want to eat their own, but it seems this tendency on the right that want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see this too. With all these kinds of characters who are promoting the regime-approved narrative of white men organizing is bad, it's always racist, it's always mean, they're always feds, always hunt these people down, always dox them. We're talking about like doing walkthroughs of Republican staffers, and like hunting people down. Like that's what this woman is saying. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? What is wrong with you? You're literally out of your mind. Like, oh yeah, we got to hunt down all the young white men in all of our institutions who are actually doing shit and are trying to save their country.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see a lot of this too from people who are pulling cover for the regime on a bunch of other issues. I know the Charlie Kirk trial is going on right now, and you know what? Like, I've been talking about this for the last week, and I think time is going to prove me right on this take, but I'm just avoiding all of this. I've already said, like, we're not going to talk about it on the show. I've already put my foot down on that. Like, we're not covering the day-to-day stuff going on with the trial or what have you, because all of this, to me, I've already seen the way people are reacting to this. It's like, this is just, it's got bad juju written all over it, man. I don't want to be near it, okay? I don't want to be sitting there, singing, holding hands and singing Kumbaya over Erica Kirk. I don't want to be here talking about Candace Owens for the next 2.5 months. I don't want to, autistically look at every single piece of footage to see if the guy was actually the guy or what have you. Okay, all of this is immaterial to what actually should have happened in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. Okay, there should have been a plan in place, ready to go, to lock up all of these people and completely remake this country in our image right after that. Okay, the Trump administration has had multiple opportunities like this. The president himself was shot, and they could have done something like this. And whether people want to admit it or not, had they actually acted in the way they were supposed to after President Trump was shot himself, Charlie Kirk very well might still be alive today. Okay, that is just a simple fact of the matter, man. Okay, and all of this stuff about, it's the podcasters that are preventing the administration from doing what it needs to do. It's like, guys, what is more likely here? Okay, Charlemagne was talking about this last night. He put it very, very well. Okay, what is the more likely situation here? is it more likely that Candace Owens, with her Blue Yeti microphone, has a magic power to twist the administration to her will, and therefore makes President Trump unable to arrest like giant masses amounts of Antifa cells? Okay. Or is it more likely that the administration simply dropped the ball on this issue and they weren't prepared to actually do what needs to be done and are not the men of the hour? Okay. So either way you look at that, if Candace Owens has this magical, amazing power to stop the administration from prosecuting Antifa people, it's like, well, the two conclusions to that are we need to immediately be like her and figure out what her special power is so we can bend the administration to our will, or the administration is so unbelievably weak that it's allowed to be derailed by Candace fucking Owens.
Or, and this is the saddest option, they just don't care.
Yeah,
and you know that's if that's the case, I hope that's not the case. That is very unfortunate because, and if they don't care, then we are probably in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, good point. And this isn't a endorsement or like even a praise of Candace Owens. It's like, listen, like, guys, really, you're gonna spend all of your time, right-wing Twitter people, talking about a black woman? Really? Like that's what you guys are going to spend all your time doing, like focusing on this black woman? Come on.
You know, there's only so many calories you can spend in a day. I don't need to do it listening. I already working in the city. I already spent enough of them listening to a black woman. I don't need to
exactly.
increase that anymore.
Where's that clip of Prudential? Shut up, a black woman is speaking.
Yeah. Historically, Trump is just, I mean, we talked about it earlier with this press secretary. Historically, Trump has surrounded himself with people that I don't know if they're incompetent or just have their own agenda, but what you mentioned about when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, the energy afterwards could have absolutely been utilized. I mean, maybe not a complete remake of the country, but I mean, it could have really started the momentum to change in the country, and it just fell flat on its face. The whole idea of that, and I think it's because he surrounds himself, and I think he himself flies by the seat of his pants, and then the people around him, they just have their own agenda and are not looking out for the country and our society.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think the conclusion that we can draw from all of this here is that the establishment GOP and all of their ancillaries like Fox News and such are just not on our side in the sense of they want to gatekeep us out. They want to gatekeep us out for a myriad of reasons. Okay, in Fox News's case, it's because their donors are big Zionists and they don't want the anti-Israel sentiment to gain any more traction amongst their base of people. Okay, everybody's worried about their jobs. Everybody's worried about actually having to face the truths, like those load-bearing myths I was talking about, like the mythology behind Ronald Reagan or what have you. Like all this stuff needs to go. The entire status quo needs to be completely ripped out, root and stem. It's the system that is the problem. It's not, oh, we got a new mayor in New York and this is all fucked now. It's like, no, the fact that we have a system that even allows a foreigner to come into the country and then, court the votes of other foreigners, and then their only policy agenda is get whitey. That's a system problem. That's not just a new mayor popping up on the scene.
That legal? How is that even legal? Wasn't that? I mean, until what is it, 60 or 70? Was it 65 when they changed that? It doesn't make any sense to have foreigners come in and be able to hold federal judge, judiciary jobs or political jobs. It just doesn't make sense.
No, not at all. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we got one more story that kind of ties in. A lot of these topics are dovetailing nice with each other this week. We don't always get that, but one more thing we want to talk about is that in this last week, the Department of Government Efficiency has officially shut down. The very last person who was, yep, here we go. DOGE service temporal organization shall terminate on July 4th, 2026. Very fitting to end it on 4th of July, right? Termination, the U.S. DOGE service shall not be interpreted to imply the termination. Yeah, well, yada, 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 whatever. So, DOGE, they say it's temporary. We all know it's not temporary. It's gone. Okay, so DOGE is toast now, and we all know why it was toast. It was toast because the young autistic guys who got in there were doing their numbers after they got rid of USAID. They said, okay, let's keep going with this, and they ran into a roadblock. And the roadblock was the same issues we were talking about earlier. Was all the entitlement programs, which nobody wants to cut. Okay. And most notably, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, SNAP, all of these. DOGE wanted to cut it. And they also wanted to audit the Pentagon. And you saw how that turned out. But, yeah, so DOGE is gone. You guys were mentioning earlier about all the energy the Trump administration had early on in when they first took office in 2025. And DOGE... when you look at the polls, DOGE was the most popular government initiative of the administration, even more popular than immigration control and restrictions. Okay, it had the highest approval rating across all demographics because everybody knows the government spends way too much money on frivolous projects all throughout the world, and none of them are in America's interests. Okay, this government obviously needs to be checked on its spending. There's obviously way too much bloat across all various sectors. And they just completely shut it down because they finally got to the part where, if we actually want to make a change, we ought to make this country livable for young people. Well, we're going to have to cut some of these entitlements. And nobody's going to do that because the boomers are still the main donors of the Republican Party, probably because everybody else has been locked out of the economy to have enough money to donate to the Republican Party anyway. So it's all just so frustrating.
Yeah, I will say, I'll give the one white pill for the episode, you got to have one to balance it out. The fact that it was able to cut USAID makes it all worth it.
Oh, that's right.
I think, it can't be understated. It was something that not a lot of people knew about. And so it was particularly, if we didn't do it this way, it was going to be particularly hard to get rid of. Unfortunately, that makes it all the much sadder that once that cut was made, that energy, that momentum couldn't be carried forward into cutting into more stuff, cutting up more patronage networks of our enemies like USAID.
Exactly. There's a fundamental problem going on here on a few levels. The first off one is that failing to kind of understand what politics is actually about, and it is about patronage, right? We talked about this at the time when Big Balls, that guy who was working for DOGE, got jumped and got the shit kicked out of him by gangs of youths in Washington, D.C. or what have you. And then they also sent a couple other of these guys out as sacrificial lambs on like 60 Minutes. And actually, I think last time we were talking about this on the show, a couple of these guys were going to be put on trial pretty soon for some of their acts that they were taking in the government. And of course, the administration isn't protecting them. Now, it's just a complete misunderstanding of why the Democrats have these programs in place. And because they understand, because they are actually a real political party, is that they get money and they give it to their friends. That's what politics is all about, man. It's not just, we need to shrink the budget. It's like, no, we need to take the money that was going to Democrats and we need to give it to people like us. That's the point, okay? They gave $25 million to that fat bitch that Olivia, whatever the fuck her hippopotamus name is, to find out why Democrats were losing support amongst young white men. $20 million was invested in that. It's like, can you even imagine what guys like us could do with even a fraction of that money?
Yeah, I can think of a few things.
Yeah, I tell you, we can do a lot. We can do a fuckload with that. I know we can. So it's very frustrating. And and the other thing too about this is that even though they did indeed shut down the USAID, it all got rolled back in with the giant spending bill that they passed. And the numbers, we don't have it on screen here, but the final numbers came out. The amount of money that DOGE saved the United States government was a whopping $40 million. That was it. Out of the billions that they cut originally, most of it was rolled right back into the next budget that the Congress passed. So the swamp protects itself, man. But one thing about this is that this will be a very, very good litmus test for people going forward, right? As we get into 2028, this is easily something that can be held to the fire of every politician, right or left, basically going forward. And this is also going to be a really easy test for like the Redditors of the world, because this is going to be such a Reddit argument for sure. But they're like, see, DOGE was shut down and it actually only ended up cutting so much. And in fact, actually increased the budget because yada, yada. It's like, no, the correct position is DOGE didn't go far enough and it was shut down for reasons that we all know why.
You were talking about the popularity about it earlier. The term I think they use is cross-party popularity, and I think it was actually higher than the voter ID cross-party popularity. I think it was up at that 80 plus. Another little, I don't know if I'd call it a white pill, but I heard it discussed amongst my chapter and I think some other chapters, that there is talk about DOGE being restarted or reinvigorated, but at the state level. In other
it's
words,
a very interesting idea.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, to implement the DOGE. In other words, they kind of showed us the way how to go about being empowered to go look for all this corruption. I know the state of Louisiana has a ton of it, and enabling these teams to go in and root it out at a state level might actually be even more effective because you'll have less resistance and bureaucracy.
Yeah. I think it's there. I think we're already seeing the germination of ideas like this with people who are going after like the Somali leering centers and what have you. Now, of course, there's a lot of crossover with federal stuff like that, but I mean, they're stealing federal dollars. So what makes you think they aren't stealing state dollars too? I mean,
they're actually combined. The type of facilities, it's the way it's funded. The federal gives the states money to fund these type of programs, but it's all connected. So you can go at it from a state level, and it could help with federal funding and state funding.
Yeah, auditors, financial auditors, just going through, cutting things. It's definitely something I could see take off at the state and local level. And people definitely should take inspiration from DOGE and bring it in on their counties and state levels for sure. No doubt. I doubt that there's no way that every single county in the United States could use a DOGE program. Every single one. I guarantee it. There's not a single spot in this country that doesn't have corruption and fraud in some manner or another, because it's been left to go unchecked for so long at this point. So yeah, people should definitely take inspiration from these guys. Again, like I was talking about with the Patriot Front thing, I'm all for a diversity of tactics, and this one I think really has the potential to bear quite a bit of fruit, especially in some of the states where I think about in these like deep red states that have like major blue city centers and stuff like that. I think like a state like Florida, a DOGE thing could really, really take off very well and really cut down on a lot of fraud that no doubt takes place in places like Miami. Or Orlando, places like that. I'm sure you guys in Texas could have something like that. I mean,
absolutely.
Or how about New Orleans?
Yeah. God, that's probably one of the major fraud centers of the country, especially since Katrina.
Yeah. Way before.
Okay, so those are those major stories for the night. Why don't we rag on Republicans a little bit more here, because we just have to, and boomers, right? Because one of the interesting stories that's been going around this last week is where's Mitch McConnell? So so the former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who is people know him as Uncle Turtle, that guy, all those old memes and what have you. The guy's been around for forever. Well, apparently he hasn't been seen in about 3 weeks now. It's been alleged that he was taken into the hospital several weeks ago for some kind of condition. People were saying it was a stroke. Some people said it could have been a heart problem. We don't really know about this. But here's Thomas Massie, soon to be removed from office. Thomas Massie saying, I spoke to Mitch McConnell for about 20 minutes this morning. He said we should end the war with Iran, quit giving aid to Israel, stop spying on Americans without warrant, and he's really sorry about how my primary turned out. So very funny. Of course, Thomas Massie also being from Kentucky, which Mitch McConnell has been in his seat in Kentucky. Out of curiosity, I'm going to look up right now. What year did Mitch McConnell take office in Kentucky? I seem to recall he's been there for like 40 or 50 years. Yeah. Let's see.
Well, wow, that's a great one. Hey,
too turtly for the Turtle Club.
The actual governor of Kentucky, though, is filing a complaint and asking for his office to contact him I guess, for proof of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they should lean into it. I think they should, if he is really in such a medical state that they're just keeping him alive. Like the meme's been going around just to keep him in the office. I say just keep him alive. Lean into it. Go public. Let's see how far it can go.
Yeah,
can't be any worse.
10,000 Epstein Island children are sacrificed every day on the Golden Throne to feed Mitch McConnell with the adrenochrome. Let's see. Mitch McConnell assumed office as state senator for Kentucky in January 3rd, 1985.
Wow. Okay. Been there a minute. All right.
Yeah.
31 years.
Yeah.
31 years. Wow.
And before that, he was the United States Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legislative Affairs. This guy's been in politics for fucking forever. All right, and he's been useless the entire time he's been there. He did absolutely nothing to stop I remember he was like really popular during the Obama years or what have you. But here we go. Here's a super chat right here. Oh, never mind. We'll read that later. Yeah. So where's Mitch McConnell? He could be dead. Could be a vegetable. Could be receiving his latest batch of adrenochrome. Could be people are voting in his absence, much like Dianne Feinstein, if people remember her a couple of years ago, who was also had a stint of missing in action in office here. But one of the things I really want to bring around to this again is there needs to be a changing of the guard here. We're done. Okay, the day of the pillow needs to come. Okay, it's long overdue at this point. We cannot have people who are approaching 90 fucking years old be in charge of this country anymore. This is just crazy. I mean, one of the things that people have a lot of reasons to criticize Ron St. Perver over a lot of reasons, but his term the Longhouse has been memed into kind of just being a rule of women kind of deal, but that actually wasn't the origins of the term. It wasn't just the rule of women, but it was specifically the rule of the old and the rule of the decrepit. Okay, and that's what we have here. Congress is full of a bunch of octogenarians, just like Mitch McConnell. Okay, and we were just talking about how all of these people have no idea what the actual issues are going on with the youth in this country on either side of the political aisle. They have no idea how difficult it is to start a family. They have no idea how difficult it is to get a home, to get a good paying job. All the legacy institutions have just been completely left out to dry. Our country's been overflowing with foreigners. We're sending more money to another foreign war for Israel that the American people don't want. And it's all the same class of people who's been in charge of this country for decades at this point. And it needs to stop. It needs to end. Okay. The rule of these olds and these octogenarians has to be over and done with. Okay. And the day of the pillow, it is coming. And I think it'll be a very, very welcome change when it finally is here.
Can't come soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I think if he either resigns or is found to be deceased by, I think it's August 3rd or 4th, they can have a special election immediately. And that's what Thomas Massie, I think, was looking into, is potentially running for that Senate seat.
That would be interesting.
That would be very funny.
That would be.
Kicked out of one house and put in the other.
I mean, we didn't talk about his primary challenge too much. Well, at least I didn't, because I think I was actually out of the country when it was going on. But you know, the Thomas Massey thing, it's like, listen here, man. I mean, on the stuff he's bad on, every one of our politicians is bad on the same thing. But on the a couple things that Thomas Massey was good on, he was the only person in Congress who was actually good on those issues, and they're really important ones. So as far as I was concerned, I was happy to have him there. Yeah, he pissed me off on the immigration stuff. Yeah, he pisses me off by kind of just being a dick on Twitter and still being a libertarian. So yeah, he should be laughed at for that, for having such a childish view of the world. But at least on a couple of the issues that are actually really important, particularly in this current political zeitgeist that we're in right now, yeah, I'm fine with Thomas Massey being there. And undoubtedly, he'd be a better improvement to the Senate than fucking Mitch McConnell, one of the sure votes that's holding up the SAVE Act, among many other things. You know, the supposed arch conservative who was the man standing in Tiananmen Square against the tank rolling over that was the Obama administration, right? That was the whole lore that was built up during Obama years, was if it wasn't for Mitch McConnell in the Senate, Obama would just have the whole run of the place. It's like, fuck you. Fuck all of you people. These people are worthless.
And his wife is allegedly a Chinese spy.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's already flown the coop. She's not even in the country, allegedly. She's gone. Yeah.
And going back to bad picks by Trump, she was, some people might not remember, she was the Secretary of Transportation under Trump.
Really? I didn't know.
Mitch McConnell's wife, she owned a bunch of shipping companies. She was
what a nightmare.
Transportation under Trump's first term.
God, yeah, all of our solutions are Fed posts. Like unbelievable.
That's how messed up it is. It's just,
again, it's like, you know, Pete comes on the show every week and he talks about this, and it's really hard to disagree with him. It's like, you really think you're going to fix this by electing a couple people to Washington, D.C. in office? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like every time I go there, I walk into D.C. and I just feel a sense of dread in the air being in that place. I'm like, this place is evil. This is an evil place. It is run by evil people. There are bodies buried here. There are God knows how many like awful debauched acts occurring on every street corner in this place. Like this place, we need to find some way to put like, Star Wars level shield technology over all of our monuments, and then we just need to like thermonuclear bomb that entire place. Just like keep a couple of the structures and then put them in museums somewhere, but everything else like could just go, man. Like very, very evil place run by evil people.
But that brings us back to the solutions, and one of them is the OGC. The OGC, organizations like this and network. I mean, time is, that's the one thing, is they can't change time, and eventually they're going to be gone, and there needs to be people ready to step up, take the reins, and do the right things. And that's why I get so excited being with OGC and the different chapters. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And those things that need to be done, I'm going to tie it all together here. You can just do them.
That's it.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's not going to be voting. It's not going to be voting. There has to be a sea change in society. People have to, and I think they are waking up. I'm very involved with my church, and I hear people talking about this. There's been a huge influx of young men coming back to the church, and I talk to them, and it's really good to see people realizing what's going on. This whole thing, this Iran war was it was almost like COVID level, a wake-up call for people, because Trump had said over and over again, no more wars. And all of a sudden, we're in a war with freaking Iran. I mean, I think it really woke people up. God, you never know.
You never know what's coming up on the soundboard. You really don't. I love it. One of my favorite parts of the show, really is. Okay. Well, God, we've had some pretty good commentary on these issues tonight, gentlemen. We've talked about some really important issues, but why don't we circle everything back around here to actually just take stock of what the 250th birthday of the United States was actually like over the weekend. I mean, I didn't really watch any of the professional proceedings or what have you, because I was actually just hanging out with people. I went to a minor league baseball game, watched a fireworks show. I was outside. It was with friends and family. I really wasn't watching like the TV. I didn't even watch like Trump's speech, not because like I was like, oh, Trump's giving a speech, who cares? It was just, I was actually just enjoying myself. I really didn't have time to like sit down and really even like think about the TV or what have you. But there was an amazing fireworks show. Apparently, people are saying it was the largest one ever shown in the history of the United States. I mean, I don't know how you could judge that, but I mean, it looked pretty big to me from the things that I saw. It looked pretty cool. Well, I wonder how many birds were killed with the sonic blasts, of all those fireworks going off. But hey, I think that's pretty cool. So, my heart was also warmed by the inevitable memes every year of, like LA County bans fireworks. They just see a picture of the LA skyline. It's just nothing but, the explosions going off in the air, so that's really cool. But we do have some other highlights from the 250. Here's actually a clip of President Trump's speech that he gave. So this is the Artemis crew. People will remember this discussion that we had a couple of months ago when they shot the Artemis and everything up into space. But let's hear what the president has to say.
So these champions of flight stand this evening beside the flag flown on the Wright brothers airplane, piloted by Orville Wright. It's the exact flag, very historic, and they are honored to be here. They told me today they were really amazed to be here with that flag. That's a very special flag if you're in the world of flying aircraft. So congratulations to everybody. Fantastic job. Very proud of you. And I have a special gift for these patriots. This morning on America's 250th birthday, a new flag was flown above the United States Capitol. And tonight I present it to you to soon be planted by American astronauts on their upcoming return to the moon. And in addition to that, I gave them and all of the great heroes that you saw up on stage tonight, and a few others that couldn't quite make the stage, I gave them a very special medal from the White House. So it's an honor. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's cool, having some American history up there, the flag of the Wright brothers, and talking about America going to the moon once again and planting a flag on there. I mean, as much as we have a lot of criticisms on the show for how they are spending the money and what programs they're choosing for the future of space travel, it is still cool that Americans are doing things. And say what you will about Trump, and we have many reasons to criticize him and many reasons to be upset with him currently right now, but the man really is a showman. And I actually am proud in the sense that we do have a man in the White House who actually, I generally do believe that Donald Trump is a patriot and loves the United States. I really do actually genuinely believe that. And it really would have sucked to have the 250th anniversary with Kamala Harris in the White House. It would have been fucking awful. It doesn't justify all the horrible things that Donald Trump has done since taking office, but I am proud that he actually is the guy who is representing us on a very historic day like this. So it's cool stuff. It does seem to me he was treating the occasion with the reverence it deserved.
Yes, and Trump, as you said, say what you will about the man, Trump's always been very good about that. I am thankful for that. We would have had, the whatever the modern day equivalent of Lizzo playing the flute up there. That's what we would have had.
No, I think he did a great job, but he really did like his showmanship. That the whole thing with the UFC fighting at the White House. I mean, there was a weeks long celebration all over the country. There was the fireworks at Mount Rushmore that he went up there for. I mean, there was a lot of different stuff. He did put a lot of energy into it, and I think he did a great job. I mean, that's what he's really good at, is pulling Americans together when he's talking about America. He does do a great job with that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, fellas. Why don't we get through some of these super chats here? And then we will do a last-minute promotion of the upcoming event you guys are throwing, and we'll get out of here. All right. So from the top, we've got Solid Snake 1964, who has once again reclaimed his title as top super chatter. So thank you very much, sir. He has once again snuck behind enemy lines. So for $5, he says, "Evening, gents. Hope you all had a great 4th. Despite everything, we are still here to celebrate. I even got to see a World War II half-track in a parade. Salute."
That is cool.
Real
That's
Americans.
awesome.
Yes, and you, sir, are a real American. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, neat stuff. Wow, I have never seen this name on a super chatter before. This is hilarious. Cash Patel shat in my water supply. Oh man. Stand aside.
Wow.
Stand
That's
aside,
beautiful.
city breakdancer, man. You have some competition here, sir. Well, at least we here at OGC headquarters are constantly patrolled by the top predator of the Jeet. We got the Jeet Defense Force here. So anyway, he says, "Buy tickets to the South Central Forum Conference and help keep Cash Patel out of America's waterways." Yeah,
He's right. He's right. Do it. You got to do it.
Amazing. That is a message we can all get behind. Thank you.
Oh,
Our good friend Thomas Wayne Riley, the American Southwest, for $10. You can catch his amazing accent on American Spirits on Mondays. He's doing great work over there. For $10, he says, "I'm unable to attend, but one of my regulators, that's the New Mexico chapter regulators of the Rio Grande, will be there. I have commanded him to take notes, and I will debrief him afterwards. I haven't actually asked him to do that, but he's going to hear this." Uh-oh. There you go. You've been signed up, sir. You've been enlisted. Yeah. Nice. All right. And yeah, everyone subscribe to the American Southwest podcast and listen to him on American Spirits. He does great work. Very, very nice man, too. Had the pleasure to meet him recently. Really cool guy. Seasider for $10 sends us a salute, as he does every week. Thank you, sir. You are a real American.
Real Americans.
Yeah.
You didn't see it because this isn't a visual medium, but I just saluted you back.
Nice. Pete Budapest for $5 says, "The DSA is just a vector for anti-white displacement." Very true. They're using democratic socialism as a skin suit to take things from white people. That is 100% true. 100% true. Well, Bungo Man, you guys know him, for $20 says, "See y'all at the conference."
We will see you there, Mr. President.
Nice.
All right. Let's see. Daryl Armentrout for $5 says, "I had decent insurance before the government got involved. Now it's $1,800 a year with a $3,000 deductible. I opt out. Take care of yourselves, brothers." Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's tough out there, guys. It really is.
Yeah.
It really just is death by 1,000 cuts. All these little things like adding up, man. And you know what? Like the other thing, you're gonna get your money's worth. I'm constantly talking about the goal of the super chatter is to min-max, get the most commentary with the least amount of dollars. Well, I think you're gonna win the award tonight on this one, because the other thing about this is that there were more paths to the upper echelon of success in times past, in the sense of, a blue collar work could get you a nice house and a family and whatnot like this. But additionally to that, there were other institutions in society that were actually there to assist you, whether it was for guidance in the workplace. The corporate culture wasn't so much based off of greed and exploitation of everybody. And not like a lefty labor guy kind of deal, but you should be paying people a living wage, okay? Because otherwise, what's the point of fucking working for you? Well, why am I going to take this job if it's not enough for me to live off of, basically? And the other problem with that is, it's just the acknowledgement of, the world needs ditch diggers too, man. And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
If the ditch digger can't actually live off the money he's making, then that just means like the welfare state is going to step in, and it's an invitation for government to take more power in positions like this. They're just, in times past, there were things like the church, things like local communities, local fraternal orders, which we are trying to rebuild here at the OGC, who were there to actually help people who fell on hard times. And in this day and age, there's just far fewer outs for when people make mistakes. It's like, listen, you're a young guy in your 20s. Maybe you're not like too, maybe you're kind of risk averse and you don't want to put a bunch of money into the stock market because it's like basically the only asset that can protect your money at this point because it's just going to inflate away like everything else. So maybe you guy who isn't really big into risk and didn't put a bunch of money in the market. And now it's like, well, what do you do? Like, where's your way out, basically? The amount of paths available to you have shrunk precipitously in the in the last couple of decades. And I think that's another thing that is lost in this conversation about the different generations. It's just the country itself is not the same place it was when the boomers were kids. And it's like that all across the board.
That is absolutely true, but we can bring it back.
Very true. Very true.
We can bring it back, and that's what OGC and other organizations. And commenting real quick on Patriot Front, I thought they were, I believe the hype too that they were feds, but now I'm looking at them like maybe they're for real too. I think there's a lot of people that are coming around and realizing we got to bring it back.
Yeah. And, the one white pill also to piggyback off of that, David, is, we're all we have and we're also all we need.
That's it. That's good.
Oh, positive. There is never a reason to be negative.
I didn't even know that was. I didn't even know that was on here.
I'm being too positive.
All right. Pete Budapest again for $5. USAID cut was an instance of the stopped clock, like deporting some of the Star Wars names on campuses. It was motivated by,
Probably a little.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll take what we can get at the end of the day.
Pete Budapest again for $10. He says, it would be different if our ailing elder statesmen were like great men of history with wisdom to give and are worthy of reverence. Nobody is crying out for the singular statesmanship of Mitch McConnell. Yeah, really. It's like, that's another good point. Is like, there's no Cincinnatus, within our rogues gallery of politicians these days. I guess the closest you can get would be somebody like Pat Buchanan. The guy's like almost 100. I mean, it's not like we can call him, or like maybe Ron Paul. Ron Paul might be another one, but he had like a couple things wrong with him too because libertarian, but generally pretty good on most of the things that were really important. But like we really, it's like, in a couple of years, who I'm gonna wish we had? Paul Ryan. That's faggot. Yeah. I'm really gonna call back for those days, guys. Man, it's going to be rough when Ted Cruz leaves. I don't know how we're going to recover. All right. Bolero 393, an old head in these spaces, longtime super chatter for $5 says, Red Hawk sounds like he's going Children of the Corn on Mitch McConnell. I've actually never seen that movie. So I do not, or even read the book. So I do not understand the Stephen King reference here.
Lost on me too. I can't explain it for you.
All right, here we go again. The American Southwest for $5. He says, if you're in New Mexico, join the OGC. But also, there's going to be an awesome reenactment at Fort Stanton this Saturday. Come out and enjoy your nation's history. Yeah, that's right. Mr. Riley is involved in all of his various reenactments in the area, which are really cool, by the way. I went to one of those. The first time I went to one of them was at Gettysburg a couple of years ago, and those are really neat. Those are really cool things. I'm glad that, that's also something that a lot of our guys really should look into the future is like, that is something just really cool. A lot of us are gun guys. We really should know. It's a major part of our history that is really going to go sideways once the boomers die off. So I think it's really important that a lot of young guys get involved in stuff like that, because that's easily something for us to carry the torch going forward. So, definitely get involved in your local reenactments. They're really cool, and you're going to meet some interesting people at those. So, and then finally, Bolero 393 for $2. He sends us a salute, and he also asks for a train whistle.
There it is.
I laugh every time. I can't not. I love how he puts a flag in there too. I mean, it's just a train whistle. It could be referring to anything. It doesn't have to be, from the subcontinent, but we all know. Yeah, their top predator. The top predators in India are tigers, leopards, mugger crocodiles, and trains. But those are the silent predators who never know when they're going to strike, and that's why they kill so many Indians.
I just recently watched a YouTube video, a compilation of people in India with trains. I've never seen anything like it. It's just incredible.
Those are classics.
It's crazy when you see some of them where it's like there's train tracks like 6 inches from the front door of your house, and it's like, how is this even? How do you live this way? Just like walk outside and just get decked by a train and it's over.
Or just walking along the tracks and get run. Yeah. I mean, it's on video and they get run over. Mm-hmm. And the person videoing, why didn't they tell them to get out of the way?
You see, David, we got to give them a break, right? Because these are silent predators that can strike from anywhere at any time. You just never know when these things are coming. They don't mark their territory. They have great camouflage. I just don't know.
No,
all right,
it's a mystery.
In our last super chatter, Aramaic Discourse, another longtime super chatter here, for $5, he says, "Real Americans."
Real Americans.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you, sir. You are a real American. All right, fellas, get through your last round of promotions. Tell everybody where they could find tickets to the forum, and where could people find more of your stuff that you guys are doing with your local chapters.
Yeah. Once again, as we said at the start of the show, David and I are on the little planning group for the South Central Forum, our regional forum in the middle south of this great country. The Blackland Prairie Riders are hosting with help from Beauregard's Bayou Crew, Black Apple Trading Company, and a few other chapters in the area. And we are, we will be having speeches from Dennis of the Redwood Society, Matthew Williams, aka the Prudentialist, Raging Mandrill, and our keynote speaker, Mike Shelby, as well as a wonderful Texas barbecue dinner and entertainment from Drive Time Movie Night. The tickets are, thanks to generous donors, we've lowered the price of tickets. Tickets for members are $225 and non-members are $250. That's right. You can bring non-members. Please bring your wife, your friend. Something I didn't mention at the beginning of the show is that we only have about a week left to buy tickets. We have to get our head count locked in with the venue pretty soon. So you need to buy these tickets within the next week. Our last day is July 18th, and I'm getting married on July 18th. And I'm in charge of making the payment. So we're actually going to have our last day as July 17th. So you need to get your ticket in by July 17th. You cannot wait. Buy now.
Get on that right now. And like I said at the beginning, I cannot recommend these conferences enough to people. I really can't. We've been doing them for several years at this point, and I've never once heard a bad review from anyone. They are fantastic places to meet people. There is nothing else like it. It will be one of the highlights of your year. I guarantee it. If you are a chapter member of another OGC chapter that is not in the region that these guys are in, I guarantee you one of the guys will put you up in their house. You'll have a place to stay for the weekend if you don't want to pay out the ass for a hotel. Go stay with one of our guys. I guarantee you they'll take care of you.
Yep. Absolutely. And it is 6 different chapters helping put this together. So it is a lot of people doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and it's been a great experience. All of us working together, putting this together. I think Food, we've been doing it, about 4 months?
Yeah, around that. Yeah.
And it's just been a great experience, excuse me, working with everybody from all the different chapters. So that in itself has really made us stronger. But to meet with the people in person, I think that's where the secret sauce is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said before, I try to meet with people whenever I go to a different state, try to meet with the local chapter. And it's it's always a good time, and the conferences are no exception, and it's such a good time. I can't recommend doing it enough. Not just because I'm hosting it, but it's really, you're going to get a lot of value out of it. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, we really all should take a step back here and really just pat ourselves on the back for what we have done, in the sense of, like, I could be dropped into basically any part of the country, any major city or something, and I can call somebody who can pick me up and take care of me in like a time of need, and when I have an emergency or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are so few people who can do that in this country. There's probably people in the administration right now who can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can do. We've got people everywhere, man. And you could easily make a road trip, going through this country, stopping at various chapters along the way, and staying with guys. I mean, I've done it previously. Whenever I go driving, people know I don't like to fly, and when I drive places, I stay with our guys. And it's a very rich and fulfilling experience every time I've done it, and I recommend people to do the same. Really would.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Get your tickets now. They're going to go fast. Send
an email. Send emails to Blackland Prairie Riders at proton.me or BPR Events Committee at proton.me, and you'll get the link.
Yeah, and if you guys are in the chat are OGC members, reach out to your chapter presidents, your regional liaisons. If you don't feel like sending emails, or something like that, we'll put you in touch. All right, we will make sure you get your hands on the ticket. So, for myself, promotion, we were talking about Drive Time Movie Night, and it just so happens they pulled a fast one on me once again. My third appearance at Drive Time Movie Night, and the third time Cap and Michael Pohl have changed the movie on me of what we're watching. So I was surprised, but last night I had no idea what we were going to watch. But if you guys listen to Drive Time Movie Night, I was on there last night. Additionally, if you guys want to check out some more movie stuff, Charlemagne, myself, and Mr. D have been doing Dr. D at the cinema on Sunday evenings, where we're going through old classic movies that are, some of the greats, and we've been talking about them. So if that's more your fancy, check us out over there. Become an OGC channel member. Where you guys can watch us play our various game slops that we've been doing these last couple of months. We've been having a lot of fun with those. I see Oren McIntyre has actually been picking up the game slop streams as well, so it's spreading. So
has he really?
Yeah,
I gotta tune into those.
Yeah, he's been playing with Dave to distribute us. They've been playing some tabletop stuff
Very
on
nice.
stream. Yeah, so everybody's poaching the OGC's content these days. But. All right, so check out all that stuff, and then we will be back here for Pony Express Radio next week, and then of course we have American Spirits on Monday and Chapter House on Wednesday. We'll see you guys then.
When I pass on my good genes to my sons, they're going to join the Old Glory Club.